Waiting for the outpost.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glow, the bombs bursting anew, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us pray. O Lord our God, through all the years and in all circumstances, you have been with us to bless us. And we remember your blessing shared with us in this school. We thank you for those teachers who have taught and are teaching, who were patient with us when we did less than our best, and willing to share with us their knowledge and experience. We ask your continued blessing upon this school, those who labor here, that others might go out knowing the truth that will set them free from error and prejudice. We remember those whom tonight we recognize and honor. We thank you for their willingness to share with others, and ask that the blessings you have given to them, they will continue to share with others in blessing. In your name we pray. Amen.
Good evening. We welcome you this evening to this 18th Annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony for the Norristown Area High School Hall of Champions Association. We congratulate each of tonight's inductees for their outstanding accomplishments in their post-high school life and on their selection to our Hall of Fame. Norristown Area High School can be very proud of its more than 90 graduates who have been selected over the past years for induction into the Hall of Fame. Each of tonight's inductees will receive a plaque with their picture and accomplishments inscribed. Also, each has had their name added to a permanent plaque in the lobby of this auditorium to perpetuate their achievements. Several of our inductees this evening visited with our high school students earlier today and took part in a Hall of Fame roundtable discussion that was taped for viewing by the students and the community at large on cable TV. We thank all for their interest in helping to make this day a memorable one for Norristown Area High School. I might add that our association is planning a 20th annual anniversary celebration in 2 years, in November 1997. At that time, Wilmer Cressman and his committee, they're already working on plans for it. We hope to have one of the largest groups of high school alumni at one time in attendance, and you will hear more of that as time goes on. But that's 2 years from now, in November 1997, when we will mark our 20th anniversary. Now, before we continue, I would like to introduce some of our Hall of Fame previous inductees into the hall who are here this evening. And if they would stand and be recognized, we appreciate that. Sam Monastero from the class of '31 winner. And I must admit, Sam in the program is an asterisk in front of his name, and that indicates he's deceased. Sam is not deceased. We apologize, and it won't happen again, Sam, and I hope not for many, many years. We'll have to check the typist on that. Also, Harold Jackson from the class of '39. Harold, nice to see you. Frederick E. Lobb, class of 1948. Fred's back in the shadows. William E. Lessig from the class of '55. Morris Cohen from the class of 1925 summer. And Dr. James Holton from the class of 1953, former superintendent of our school district. Jim?
Good evening and welcome to Norristown Area High School. It's a pleasure for me, as one of 3 assistant principals of the high school, to welcome you all here to represent our principal, Barry Spencer, and to let you know on no uncertain terms that I am prouder today to be a vice principal of this building than I ever have been. Do you remember the expression, "There's gold in them thar hills"? Well, I found out long ago and had reinforced today that there is gold in this Stony Creek Valley. And I had an opportunity to see 73 years of that gold, solid gold, here today. We not only had Morris Cohen from the class of 1925, talking about his experience growing up in Norristown. We had 3 of our 5 inductees with us for most of the day, meeting our students, visiting our classrooms. We had Students of the Month meeting with members of the West Norriton Women's Club. Hats off to you, West Norriton Women's Club, for taking the time to be in our building and seeing what we have. And this evening we're going to be meeting the top 10 in class, the classes of 1996, 97, and 98. And if you hang around long enough, next year you will see the top 10 of the last class of the millennium. That's pretty wonderful. So without delay, let me introduce to you the top 10 in class. We'll start with the class of 1996.
Julie Fulham. This is the class of 1998. Rebecca Wall. Jeffrey Sconier. Nathan M. Ashby Coleman. Hai Sung An. Molly Kang. Thaddeus F. Zavatsky. Christina K. Price. Boris Domchewski. Andrew Joseph Bodis. Mamie Douglas.
you. I should tell you that you are now beginning with the class of 1997. First in class, Miss Mamie Douglas.
Kaylee Park. Tracy Brandall. Nicholas M. Bianco. Brian James Carr, Jr. Francis Tornetta. Olenka Domchewski. Matthew Coons.
And now for the class of 1998, Miss Jeanette Gara.
Maria C. DeLuca. Dictala. Barbara Jean Sliker. Scott J. Erlanger. Chong An. Judith Marie Rydell. And last, Peter F. Schwartz. Unable to be with us this evening is Juan Dong Tran, Laura Edrica, Elizabeth Lippy, Joshua A. Gilday, and David Paul Howe. Congratulations.
Thank you. Our students who are better mathematicians than their vice principal pointed out that last group was the class of 1996. Come to the graduation in June. We are very proud of all of them. Thank you.
L. Howard Fox, Jr., from the class of 1929 summer. Following graduation from high school, where he served as president of student council and was co-founder of High Eye, the school's first newspaper, Dr. L. Howard Fox, Jr. received his bachelor's degree from Temple University in 1934 and his master's degree in speech theater from Northwestern University in 1941. Dr. Fox received his doctor's degree in philosophy and drama from New York University, where his doctorate dissertation was a study on the design and building of high school auditoriums. Dr. Fox's teaching career took him to many stops along the way, beginning in the Woodbury, New Jersey High School, where Dr. Fox created an exchange of student plays among 3 adjacent towns. During 2 years of teaching at Admiral Farragut Academy, he developed a drama club and the school's first camera club, including a student darkroom. From Admiral Farragut, Dr. Fox taught for 6 years at Belleville, New Jersey High School, creating drama clubs and debating teams. Joining Montclair State College in Montclair, New Jersey, Dr. Fox spent 33 years at the school before retiring in 1977 as professor emeritus. While at Montclair, Dr. Fox created and expanded the speech and theater departments and began the touring of college plays to area high schools. Dr. Fox also served as the design consultant of the state-of-the-art Memorial Theater at Montclair, a multiple-function performing arts center. Within 3 years, a completely flexible studio theater was also in use. He also served as consultant in design to many high schools, colleges, and community theater spaces and structures, and assisted in the design of off-Broadway theaters, as well as at Washington College in Chestertown, Maryland. Co-founder and first president of the Paterson, New Jersey Arts Council, Dr. Fox recently was honored by the Essex County, New Jersey freeholders for outstanding contributions by a senior citizen to the arts and to the community. In 1937, Dr. Fox was directly involved in the production of a 20-minute promotional film sponsored by the Norristown Chamber of Commerce and entitled "This is Norristown." The film depicted many local scenes, factories, sites, town officials, and organizations. The father of 3 daughters, Dr. Fox resides in Montclair, New Jersey, and it's our pleasure now to welcome Dr. Fox to the Norristown Area High School Hall of Fame. Presenting Dr. Fox's award is Mr. Benjamin Dreby.
Dr. Howard Fox, if you would come forward, please. One thing that was not mentioned is that Howard is also a tour guide in the city of New York. And I had the pleasure of going on one of the tours with him, and I always thought it was expensive to be in New York, but he showed me where you can eat for the normal price. We were at the World Trade Center on the top floor. I was ready for lunch, as usual, ready to eat. And I wanted to eat. He said, "Oh no, it's too high prices, go down." So we went down to the 43rd floor. I went to the deli. We had a beautiful light lunch for less than $5. So if you know your way around in New York, it's not expensive. But before I go any further, I'd like to mention that Jim forgot to introduce my other cousin, Ira Singleton. Dr. Ira Singleton is also in the audience, an inductee. Ira, would you stand up? Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Howard, it's a pleasure as your cousin to present to you this memento for induction in the Norristown Hall of Fame. Howard?
Thank you, Ben. Well, this is an overwhelming day. It's unbelievable. A few brief things about my days at the high school here. I lived way up on Airy Street in the last block. I leave in the morning and go to Noble Street, turn left and pick up a pal of mine in the same class named Merle Bean. We'd walk up to Stanford Street and turn to the right and pick up our third pal. We were known as the Three Musketeers most of the time, Jerry Weinberg, and off we'd go to the high school. Now, we like to do things with the school and everything that there was to do at the school. And the junior prom was about to come up, and none of the three of us could dance. So we read an ad in the paper that some lady on Main Street who had a dancing school had after-school lessons to teach people to dance. So the three of us went. Well, it was tough. You had to hold a girl in your arms. And that was uncomfortable because you didn't know what you weren't used to that. We weren't. Then on top of that, this lady also prepared special teams of dancers, and she had a fairly stout, very nicely proportioned lady that needed a partner in an adagio dance, and they thought I'd be a perfect partner. So she tried to get me to lift her off the ground in adagios, and it was very embarrassing. So we never went back. We went to the dance, and I served on the refreshment committee, and I did the next year. But it wasn't all lost, because soon I grew up and things happened. And one of the things which happened was that I have three beautiful, wonderful daughters. Amy and Debbie, would you stand, please, and say hello right down here. The third daughter couldn't be here. She's in California, but her daughter, who is now a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania, came in her stead. Melissa, let's see you. Stand, please. Thanks. Some things at the high school that were different from today. First of all, my class was the first class to go through Montclair High School in 3 years, the whole class, because we went to the two junior high schools which were built to take the 9th grade. So when I graduated from the school up, what was it, Ben? No, the elementary school up in the West End. Anyway, I went Lincoln School. I went from there to the 9th grade at the Stewart Junior High School. At the same time, they created another junior high school on this end, the Rittenhouse Junior High School. And it's important to know their names for the thing that comes up. It was a Thomas J. Stewart Junior High School on the West End. It was the David Rittenhouse School on the other end. Now, will all of you repeat to me, what was the name of the first one? Thomas J. Stewart. And the other one was David Eisenhower. And here's why that's important. At the high school, we had an oratorical contest every year. And you'd write an oration, and you'd give it with all the gusto you had, and they chose winners and losers. And one year, while I was here, the topic was Thomas J. Stewart and David Rittenhouse. So I wrote my speech. You wrote those. You didn't give them ad lib like this. And I was in the middle of the speech. I was doing very well. At the end of the speech, and I said, therefore, it's so important that we honor Thomas J. Rittenhouse and David Stewart. I didn't catch on until afterwards when people told me what a fool I'd made of myself. My point was to make that a dramatic close. Anyway, of that point, the high school buildings were so different. We were in the old Eisenhower High School, not the one which is there now. This was on Swede Street. The picture of it in the lobby downstairs is just a gorgeous picture. It was 3 floors high with an attic above that, on the edge of which there was an upstairs auditorium. It wouldn't be allowed today because it was all wood. It was not at all fireproofed. But I used to explore around buildings anyway. As you found out later, I was interested in buildings. And one time I was climbing around the roof of the auditorium, and I saw on the floor a glass window, and I picked the glass window up, and it dropped, and it broke, and glass was all over the floor below. What do you do in a case like that? You shouldn't have been up there in the first place. I went down to the principal's office. There was a lady principal, Emma Christian. I told her what had happened, and she saw how chagrined I was. She called up my father at work, and it turned out he paid $3.25 to replace the glass, and nothing happened to me. And the main building itself was not complete. Next door was the Gottwalsh Elementary School. The gymnasium was in the basement of this Gottwalsh Elementary School. The gym was where the high school played basketball. The ceiling of the basement wasn't more than 10 or 11 feet high. Beneath that ceiling were pipes, so to keep the basketballs from hitting the pipes and getting caught, they had netting over that. So you couldn't shoot a long lob into the basket. And I don't know how the team turned out to be so good, because they were very good. But remember, this is something about basketball in those days. It was a low-scoring game because every time you shot a basket, you went back to center for a toss by the referee and started again. Every time you got a basket, well, if you could score 23 points, you keep going back to center. That's all you could do in a game. So that was a very boring game for most people, but I still went to watch it. There was one, let me get to that one next. There was one activity that we had every year in the high school. We didn't have a stage like this wonderful place, but we had a platform in this 3rd floor area, and every year the school hired a company in Davenport, Iowa called the John B. Rogers Production Company. Somebody showed up, a man or a woman, on a Monday with costumes in boxes, with cloth things that could be used for scenery, and with scripts and scores for the music for a brand new musical that they would put on in our high school. And the students were auditioned on Monday afternoon. The casts were chosen. Nobody knew about this in advance. You were in the chorus, or you had this part of that. And you started rehearsal on Tuesday, and Thursday of the next week, you put the show on for 3 nights. They did it every year. It made a lot of money. We don't know whether we learned much, but we had a lot of fun. That happened very, very long. Now, I was also on the debate team. I remember we were from, of course, Eisenhower High School. At one evening, our debate coach drove, I think, 5 of us up to Reading, because Reading and Allentown and Bethlehem were great rivals of the high school in sports and everything else. We were up there to debate the Reading High School debate team. We got out of our car and walked to the campus, and from the 2nd floor of the building came, "Rah, rah, Eisenhower, Eisenhower, rah, rah, Eisenhower." We were in 7th heaven. How did they know that we were coming and they had greeted us with cheerleaders? They were honoring somebody named Eisenhower who was being given an award at a banquet at the same very moment. So we not only were upset then, we'd lost the debate. We used to do senior plays, which the high school principal directed, but they had to be given in Stewart Junior High School, where there was a decent stage. Of course, you only did that once, and I've forgotten the title of our senior play, but I was involved in it. Then we had back to school nights. The classes met for one evening every semester, at which time the students came and went through a day of maybe 20-minute classes. And parents came to visit the classes with their children. And I took French for 2 years. Yes, kids, I took French for 2 years. I was very poor at it because I would never had time to study the vocabulary and the grammar, but because I liked to do things with my voice, and I was pretty good at some of those things, I could read French. They said almost like a native, but I didn't know what I was reading. So I wasn't much good during the week, all semester long, until back to school night. And what did that French teacher do to show off her talent? she had me read to the parents in French, maybe for 2 or 3 minutes. And I read this dramatic selection, and I guess I passed well with that, but I didn't know what I was reading. Just words and meaning nothing else. A few other quick things like this. One time in 1928, the year before I graduated, a comic on the campus named Tommy Cahill and I and a couple other people got together, and we said there should be a high school newspaper. Why not? There wasn't any. So, and this was in April. So Tommy Cahill went around to all their homerooms, because we had homeroom activities every day of the week, and said to everybody, how about having a newspaper at the high school? Well, how to do that? So what he had with him was a 4-page folded unit with which somebody had typed things that might be in a high school newspaper. And for the headlines, we put question marks across the top. And he went around to drum interest in this for the following fall. He asked for a nickel from everybody there. Would they like to buy one of these preliminary newspapers? It was going to be free later, of course. So the next fall, then, a man named Harold Cressman, who later became one of the big editors of the Norristown Times-Herald, and I put together a newspaper. We got people to help write the articles and decide what should be in it. We took it down to a printer. It was located somewhere behind the Herald office. And he printed this newspaper, and we didn't have any name for it, so we had no name for a few issues. I think we did it every 2 or 3 weeks. But we had a competition to choose its name. I remember we were in Eisenhower High School. So the winning name we chose that was turned in by a student was H-I-E-Y-E, High I. Now I know that some teacher gave it to that student to turn in, but we never revealed that. He got whatever the prize was. And so that was the beginning of newspapers at Montclair High School. I was head of the student council for my senior year. And one thing I must say is that in those days, the high school student council, only students, was given too much responsibility. We were asked to decide things about student activity that were the province of the administration. And the administration then was playing chicken and gave it to us. And sometimes we made decisions about students who did this or did that that were pretty bad, and we shouldn't have had to do it. And in one case, it was a tragic result in the end for the student. And I will never forget that. And I know that today that's not the case. The administration is far from sensible here. I could go on like this, but there are other people to be heard from. I want to simply close by saying that today I have spent on this building. I recognize a great staff and the great students I spent a long time with today. Great facilities, my goodness. And it's a great honor to be here. And this is one of the top days of my life. Thank you.
Kenneth F. Hoffman, from the class of 1944. The work ethic for Kenneth F. Hoffman was established early in his life, as he was involved in a work program while still in high school that took him to class one half of each day and the other half to his part-time job. It carried over with Ken when he enrolled at Drexel University and earned his bachelor's degree with the class of 1957 evening school. While at Drexel, he held a full-time job, was married with 2 children, and went to evening school 3 nights a week for 11 years to receive his well-deserved diploma and degree. Kenneth Hoffman joined Hale Fire Pump Company of Conshohocken, and retired 45 years later as Senior Vice President and part owner of the company, which has recently been sold. Many of the fire pump designs for Hale Pump were Ken Hoffman's, including numerous patents in his name. Helping to establish many of the nation's fire safety standards, Kenneth is a member of the International Association of Fire Chiefs and the Society of Automotive Engineers. While serving in the U.S. Army in 1945 and 46, Ken Hoffman was head draftsman for the 3rd Constabulary Regiment in Germany, preparing maps, charts, and overlays. His commanding general said that Ken Hoffman produced the finest map reproductions in the European theater. He and his wife Jean reside in Schwenksville. They are the parents of 2 daughters, Deborah and Pamela. And now, please come to the stage, Mr. Hoffman, as we welcome you to the Norristown Area High School Hall of Fame. Presenting the award is Mrs. Nancy Collier.
Thank you. Congratulations. Although I had never had the pleasure of meeting Kenneth before this evening, in talking, we did find that we had a few things in common. They were mutual people who had crossed our paths. In 1944, Miss Emma E. Christian was one of the finest examples of a strong administrator. This was Ken's principal at the high school. She also was my principal when I was at the high school. Miss Rebecca Price, a truly dedicated, sincere, and understanding teacher, was the sponsor and advisor of the class of 1944. I also had the privilege of her guidance, for she was my homeroom teacher. These 2 ladies, Miss Christian and Miss Price, were truly ladies. They were dynamic giants in the field of education long before we heard of the feminist movement. In addition, the class president of 1944 was Dr. Sam Santangelo, who, because of previous commitments, was unable to be here this evening to present this eminent award to you, Kenneth. But Sam just happens to be my brother. So you can see why I feel there's a special camaraderie between us. Back in 1944, in the midst of World War II, our country was faced with great challenges and was looked upon for leadership by the entire world. Our country rose to its mission unfalteringly. Similarly, you too, Kenneth, have faced many challenges through your life, and you've met them confidently, and you have displayed great leadership in your field. We congratulate you on such an outstanding career. And now, on behalf of the Norristown Area High School Hall of Champions Association, it gives me great pride and a privilege to present this plaque to you, Mr. Kenneth Hoffman, class of 1944. Thank you very much.
Well, Leslie said it was overwhelming, and today was. I have a lot of people to thank for this award. Friends, loved ones, associates, people that touch your life and your heart and become the best part of your memories. Those things in life are just overwhelming, as this day was. I'd like to thank Howard and Carolyn Hurst. Carolyn, who nominated me, and Howard, who graduated with me and also a dear friend, and the Hall of Fame committee for selecting me. I'd like to thank my mother, who worked hard all her life and supported me, even though as a youngster I was not too appreciative. And my wife, Jean. She's still my best buddy, my best girl. And I don't know how do you thank a wife that has been so kind, loving, considerate, supportive for almost 50 years. She has become more a part of me than I am myself. Thank you, Jean. I'd like to thank my friends and family for coming tonight and sharing this award with me. And finally, I would like to thank E.J. Wendell for founding Hale Fire Pump Company, a company that suited my personality, allowed me to grow, and do something I really liked. Thank you.
John W. Parker, the class of 1953. Following graduation from high school, John Parker matriculated at Millersville State Teachers College, where he graduated in 1957 with a bachelor's degree in education. Further study at Temple University earned John his master's degree, also in education, in 1964. While at Millersville, John was recognized in Who's Who and was an outstanding player on the school's basketball team for his entire 4 years. His uniform number was retired by the school following his senior season, and on October 27th of this year, he will be inducted into the recently established Millersville Athletic Hall of Fame. John Parker has been employed by the Upper Dublin School District since graduation from Millersville. He has served the district well during those 38 years, including as an industrial arts teacher, a basketball and track coach, and as principal of the junior high school. Presently, John is serving the Upper Dublin District as Director of Facilities and Planning. He is a former board member of the Children's Aid Society of Montgomery County and is serving as a member of the Montgomery County Regional Family Support Council. John has been a PIAA basketball official since 1964, working literally hundreds of high school games during that time, including many state championship contests. He also was an official in the National Basketball Association for the 1969-70 and 1970-71 seasons. John was offered a full-time contract to continue working in the NBA, but declined so as not to conflict with his Upper Dublin teaching duties. The son of Mr. and Mrs. Albert P. Parker of East Norriton, John and his wife Julia are the parents of a daughter, Jill, and a son, Albert P. II. The Parkers reside in Gwynedd. Now, it's our pleasure to welcome John Parker to the Norristown Area High School Hall of Fame. Presenting the award is Mr. Don McMurray.
Really gives me great pleasure to be up here to present John. John's an exceptional person, has exceptional personality, untiring enthusiasm, and unquestionable integrity. And John also cares for everybody he comes in contact with. John also was principal at 3 Tons with my children, attended there. John now is also facilities director in Upper Dublin, and he's made my job a lot easier for the last 12 years, and I think it's going to be 4 more years because I'm on the board at Upper Dublin. So it's with undue pleasure, or great pleasure, or whatever, to present this plaque to a great man. John?
Thank you, sir. You have the wrong man here. I'm really not that much. But it is truly a privilege and an honor for me to be inducted to the Norristown Area High School Hall of Fame. I have a few things to say, but first, I have family here. I have my father and my mother, Al Parker, you know him. There's my wife, Julia, for a lot of years. I have my son, Albert II, who is here. With Albert is his wife, Melissa. I have my daughter, Jill, here, who is with her husband, Tony, who is also a basketball referee. And I have my sister, Mary Jane, who is a Norristown person. And a few other people who I will mention in just a minute or two. When Don McMurray told me that he was submitting my name for consideration for this honor, I seriously considered asking him to come to his senses. I certainly was not the best student this high school has ever seen, although I did have some good days. I was certainly not the best athlete among an elite crowd of superior athletes. I see Jim Randolph here and Wally Evans. These are top flight athletes. I was not in their class anytime. Good to see them here. I've also never been to the moon. I have not found the cure for cancer. I haven't changed the course of public education. I never participated in the Olympics or ever even had any real impact on the game of basketball. All I've accomplished since leaving NHS was to acquire a bachelor's and master's degree in education, spend my entire professional career in Upper Dublin, teaching, coaching, and being an administrator, try to be a good family man to the 3 people I mentioned, and referee basketball at the high school, small college, and NBA levels. I am ordinary. But then I came to the realization that this recognition was not only for me, but for the many other ordinary people who do what they are able to do. I say this with no false sense of humility, but rather as an example of an ordinary person who, with the help of many supporters, attained a measure of success. I do not possess the secret to ensuring a successful life, except to surround yourself with good people and hope for the best. Oliver Wendell Holmes said a while back, "What lies behind us and what lies ahead of us hardly matter. What really matters is what lies within us." That's what Norristown did. I don't stand here alone, but rather as a representative of the many good people who walked the halls of NHS during my time. I feel they are also standing here being recognized. Let me name a few. I had teachers and coaches like Will Booker and Bill Butler and Nick Dolis and Lawson Earl and Jim Foster and Art Herr and Bill McCain, who's here, and Chris Pappas and Fred Shealy and Blanche Stout and John Sweeney and Harry Wolf and, of course, Mr. Cost, the principal. Some of my classmates who did their thing for me. I had Bud Denner and Jimmy Detweiler and Alex Fisher and Jimmy Holton, who is here tonight also, and Skippy Jackson and George McCurdy and Art McVall and Dave Marble and Nick Monticelli and Del Offner, Charlie Profrock, Arnold Rappaport, Dick Rogers, Jimmy Saylor, Jimmy Schultz, Virgilio Volpe, Sylvester Williams, Bob Barksdale, Oscar Johnson, who is here tonight, Jackie May, George Cagliola, and Chet Green, and George Ortlip, and Anthony Moles, and Willie Bloxson, just to name a few. I came across a piece of music with words by Victoria Shaw and Garth Brooks that maybe I should say in closing. This is from the river. And it said, you know, a dream is like a river, ever changing as it flows. And the dreamer is just a vessel that must follow where it goes. Trying to learn from what's behind you and never knowing what's in store makes each day a constant battle just to stay away from shore. Too many times we stand aside and let the waters slip away, till what we put off until tomorrow has now become today. So don't just sit upon the shoreline and say you're satisfied. Choose to chance the rapids and dare to dance the tides. And I will sail my vessel till the river runs dry. Like the bird upon the wind, these waters are my sky. I'll never reach my destination if I never chance to try. So I will sail my vessel till the river runs dry. Thank you, family. Thank you, Don McMurray. Thank you, Hall of Fame committee, and everybody else. Norristown High School will be here forever. And because of what you've done tonight, so will I. Thank you.
Albert M. Gambone, class of 1957. Following his 1957 graduation from Norristown High, Al attended Lowell Technological Institute in Lowell, Massachusetts for 4 years, where he studied mathematics and chemistry. Later, he attended Mattituck Community College in Waterbury, Connecticut, where he also studied religion and philosophy. Self-employed since 1973, Al is president and owner of G&A Engineering Company in Woodbury, Connecticut. Al became interested in the American Civil War about 10 years ago, and during that time, he has been delighted to learn that Norristown contributed 5 generals to the Union cause. Those men were Winfield Scott Hancock, the hero of Gettysburg, John F. Hartranft, who also served 2 terms as Pennsylvania's governor, Samuel K. Zook, who was killed at Gettysburg, as well as Matthew McLennan and Adam Jacoby Slemmer. Al has noted that no other town, north or south, can claim such an honor, and he is determined to write biographies about each of those men. Toward that goal, this past May saw his first volume, Major General John Frederick Hartranft, Citizen Soldier and Pennsylvania Statesman, released by Butternut and Blue of Baltimore. He has also completed his second work, If Tomorrow Finds Me Dead, The Life of General Samuel K. Zook, which is due to be released in early 1996. Currently, he is working on a monograph of General Hancock at Gettysburg. In addition to these major works, Al has also written several articles for major newspapers, and he lectures extensively on the Civil War throughout the Northeast United States. As an active member of the Historical Society of Montgomery County, Al also participates in the Society's various Civil War programs. Today, he resides in Woodbury, Connecticut, with his wife Nancy and their children. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Albert Gambone to the Hall of Fame. Presenting the award is Mr. William McCain.
I first met Al Gambone in the fall of 1954. He was a young man of about 15 years of age, and he was assigned to my homeroom in Eisenhower High School as a student just entering high school. We were there together for 3 years, and he graduated, leaving those hallowed halls to make his mark on the world. I must say at this point that he signaled no such talent as to indicate what his mark on the world was to become. 30-some years later, our paths crossed, and we renewed a friendship which has been most rewarding to me. Some of you may have heard Al speak in and around Norristown. He has become a renowned expert on the Civil War and those Norristonians who became famous through their participation and leadership in that great struggle. He is one of the most thorough researchers I have ever known. He is an author, well respected in his chosen area of interest, and as a speaker, simply spellbinding. If you ever have an opportunity to hear him describe one of the battles of the Civil War, I am sure that you will hear the shot and shell and smell the powder. Al, it is my pleasure to have you as a friend, and as such to present you with this plaque for your noteworthy accomplishments.
Thank you.
Let me say thank you to everyone, to the committee, to everyone who made this day possible, to my family, to my wife Nancy. And let me say a special thank you to Bill McCain, because he's given you just a little tiny window of insight which speaks volumes to what a school of this nature can impart to a thoughtless student, which I was. I had a great proclivity at that time, at the age of 15 and 16, to arrive at homeroom late virtually every day. And Mr. McCain at that point was a very tolerant individual. But even the gods up on the hill have their limits. And I came in late as usual one day, and he looked at me and he said, "What is the excuse this day?" And I said, "You're not going to quite believe this, but en route to school today, a cow entered the road and wouldn't move." He said, "You're right, I don't believe it." And it cost me about 3 weeks in the late room class, which was rather sobering. But it was even more sobering coming back here today to an alma mater that I truly appreciated when I entered my senior year in high school. To see this facility, to see the staff, more importantly, to see the students and the progress and the diversity of those students. It gives one a sense of pride. I've been away from Norristown in terms of a living condition since about 1965, so the perspective changes. And you suddenly realize that heroes do not have to come from some other place. You can return home and find them, probably more so than somewhere else. And coming back here today was in fact that kind of a journey for me. As I spoke to the students, as I listened to the students, I thought I could hear, taste, and smell some of the heroes of tomorrow. So Norristown High School and Norristown Area High School, you've done a fine job in the past. I wish you nothing but the best in the future, and thank you for your personal contribution to my life.
Elaine J. Harris, the class of 1974. Elaine Harris graduated from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1978 with a BS degree in chemical engineering, and she received her MBA degree in 1986 from the Stanford Graduate School of Business. Ms. Harris is currently a program manager in the corporate marketing division at the DuPont Company in Wilmington, Delaware, where she functions as a strategy and marketing consultant on consumer-related issues. She is the team leader of a group looking on a global basis at the impact of societal trends on corporate direction. She co-chairs a committee charged with improving the effectiveness of brand management in the company, and she is actively involved in evaluating marketing applications for new information technologies, such as the Internet. Ms. Harris has been associated with various business segments at DuPont, including agrochemicals, petrochemicals, fibers, and external affairs. At MIT, Ms. Harris was a National Achievement Scholar. At DuPont, she has received an award for her contribution to the apparel business from 1987 to 1990. She was recognized in 1994 for her workplace efforts in demonstrating value for people, and in 1994 received a citation for her work on a team which developed a new market segmentation business model. A member of the National Black MBA Association, the Black Alumni of MIT, and the Stanford Business School Alumni Association. Ms. Harris is the daughter of Doris Harris, principal of the Cole Manor Elementary School in the Norristown Area School District, and of the late Reverend William Harris, a former member of the Norristown Area School District Board of Directors. Ms. Harris currently resides in Philadelphia, and we am pleased to induct her into the Norristown Area High School Hall of Fame. Presenting the award is Ms. Thea Millman.
Elaine, I'm honored to be presenting. Step a little closer so I could look at you. I'm honored to be presenting you with this award this evening. Hall of Fame plaque is duly yours. I'm honored to have been chosen. Sharing a little bit with you folks. Elaine and I go way back. I was her second grade teacher. I was her second grade teacher at then the Roosevelt Elementary School. I would like to tell you I was only 12 at the time, but I could definitely tell you that Elaine was definitely 7. We were sure of that. When I met my new student, who had just moved into the Norristown community, I knew at once that this young lady was exceptional, even at the young age of 7. She was then intelligent and poised, and nothing's changed except she's gotten older and a little better. Elaine, while I am proud of your accomplishments, I always knew that you would be a high achiever. I want to congratulate you on your academic and so far life achievements. I am very pleased and very proud to know that I inspired you, but my dear, you inspired me. Congratulations and continued success. Thank you very much.
It's an honor to have been nominated and inducted into the Norristown Area High School Hall of Fame. God has blessed me in many ways, including the opportunity to travel around the world and to have a career doing something that I truly enjoy. My accomplishments are modest, but they're based on the solid education that I received here in Norristown. I enjoyed subjects in both the arts and sciences and was encouraged by teachers like Mrs. Millman to believe that all things were possible. I would like to express my special appreciation to family and friends, and I'd like for them to stand, please. Thank you. They've been a constant source of support and encouragement through the years, and I especially appreciate their presence here tonight. And I would like to especially acknowledge my mother, Doris Harris, who's my biggest supporter and fan. Thank you.
Congratulations to our 5 new inductees. We welcome you all to our Hall of Fame, and I think we owe them all a big collective round of applause. Before we adjourn to the cafeteria for refreshments and fellowship with our honored guests, I would like to recognize 2 of the many individuals who have contributed so much to make this evening's program a success. To Rory Zumo, who literally runs the program from backstage, prepares the inductee slide presentations, and who put together the wonderful exhibit in the lobby display case. Rory, we couldn't do it without you. She's either backstage or up in the balcony. She's up in the balcony right now. I have a lady in the balcony. It sounds like Dr. IQ. That dates me. And Jeff Brandon for his usual fine performance and professional job as our off-stage announcer. Jeff, your dulcet tones are excellent. Appreciate it. Now, if you would please rise and join Rebecca Vanderslice in the singing of our alma mater, after which you are invited to the reception in the cafeteria, which is entered to the through the steps on your right. Rebecca?
Though the earth be filled with flowers, most beautiful and sweet, and the roses and the lilies hide the pathway at our feet, oh, the blue and white shy violets will e'er be our delight, for they wear the loyal colors of our emblem, blue and white. In all kinds of school athletics, no honor do we lack, for to Norristown we're giving victories won on field and track, with a spirit never conquered. For NAHS we fight, and we never growl at being black and blue, for blue and white. When our 4-year course is ended, and we leave our school so dear, we will make the world take notice of our challenge. Look who's here, for we've learned that white means pureness, and blue means worth and right, and our lives shall be the witness of our love for blue and white.
We'll see you all in the cafeteria, just to your right, up the steps. Thank you for coming.